Good morning, everyone. As president of Impact Toastmasters Club,
As president of Makati Toastmasters Club,
As president of Nielsen Philippines Toastmasters Club,
As president of Real Page Toastmasters Club,
we hereby
We
declare
hereby
declare
there
this educational
education
talk
open.
open.
I would like to introduce our Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Cara.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our fourth cycle of Top of Your Game, where we will be having the International Speech Learning Session. We will be having speakers today who were able to create a speech that brought them to the top. And with that, I would just like to mention that before we call on our first speaker, I'd like to mention that our panel moderator is TM Ann Perez, and she will be managing all your questions for our speakers today. So with that, I would like to introduce our first speaker. He is our second runner-up from District 75 2020 International Speech Contest. He's from Dasmariñas City Toastmasters Club, distinguished Toastmaster Ryan Encabo.
10 years ago, I attended a spiritual healing conference. I've been to a lot of retreats, recollections in my life, and for me, most of the messages were the same. But the next speaker, the one from Canada, he was different. He looked like Sean Connery, a bit younger, and had a darker complexion. When he told his story, we were swept by his words. I was laughing and crying at the same time. I thought I was going crazy, but I scanned the room and I saw that everyone was experiencing the same. Then he went to the closing of his message. He invited us to open our hearts, trust the Lord, and receive him as Lord and Savior. I said two things to myself. First, I want to become, or I want to have the same relationship he had with the Lord. And second, I want to become an authentic speaker like he was. Fellow Toastmasters, ladies and gentlemen, I experienced the life-changing effect of a message spoken from the heart. And up until now, I can vividly recall his story. Do you want to learn the art of speaking from the heart? That story is the very reason why I joined Toastmasters and why I joined speech contests yearly since 2013. I want to become an authentic and sincere speaker. But some of you might be asking, Doc Ryan, I'm not used to expressing my emotions. I'm uncomfortable being vulnerable. But you see, it can be learned. And it might be one of the easiest things to do because speaking from the heart is actually essentially being yourself, but more. Expressing who you really are and more. Imagine that next week would be the start of another contest season and you would have your club qualifiers or your club level competition. And then the officers would approach you and would encourage you to join the contest. Now, the first dilemma is, what topic should I talk about? What message would resonate with a lot of people? Well, my first advice is, don't think in terms of topics, don't engage your mind, but rather dig for common roots. What do I mean by that? I learned this from speech champion Muhammad Shukri when he became the keynote speaker in our DISCON in 2018. I had the privilege to sit with him for lunch, and then he taught me that people are like trees. On the surface, we're all different. Like trees, different heights, different colors of the leaves. They bear different fruits. People are like that. We have different childhood experiences, education, and we have different experiences. That's why if you think on the mind level of a topic, you would only resonate with a few people. I would probably be effective only to those who are in the medical field. So what's the solution? Like trees, on a deeper level, they all have roots. And in terms of people, we human beings, though we come from different cultures and different countries, we share common roots, like we have dreams and desires, we have failures and frustrations, struggles and stories of success. I realized that the more I dig deep into the roots, the common ground, the common roots, I am able to resonate with people even though I haven't met them yet. You see, this is the international speech competition. You need your speech to have universal value. And how do you do that if you haven't met yet your audience? We try to do our homework, but still there are people who haven't met yet. Another illustration is when you put two pianos side by side, when you press one key, one note, like do, the other piano, without you pressing it, would automatically vibrate the same note without you pressing it. We call this in music resonance. If we get in touch with something that resonates in our heart, as we express it to other people, it would resonate in their hearts. So the deeper you get, you are able to find ideas, core messages that would resonate with your audience. Now, engaging the heart is easier said than done. How do we actually do it? We start with silence. We start with silence. This is something extroverts can learn from introverts. Extroverts are life of the party kind of people. They are natural speakers. But we need to learn from introverts who are deep thinkers. Great public speaking starts with great private, quiet time, silence and solitude. Especially if you are having difficulty finding a subject. It's in those quiet times that memories, life messages, life lessons would naturally come. We need to avoid the noise of the world, of social media, of the news. And we even need to silence our minds. We need to silence our minds. Whenever I'm invited for a talk, days before, I would wake up early. Usually I wake up 5:30, but I would wake up 4 a.m. While everything is silent. I love the calmness of the morning while my children are still asleep. I would just enjoy my coffee or sometimes tea. I'll take a walk or sometimes jog, and suddenly the ideas would come. I would be able to hear what my heart would want to share. Another benefit of being silent or being comfortable with silence is that you are able to test whether you are truly passionate for that subject. You have lots of subject and you're about to choose. Let it, you hold it in. Don't talk about it right away. Don't post it in your FB or don't talk about it. Hold it in. Because if it's just an interest, a passing interest, it would just fade away and die a natural death. But if you are really meant to share that message, you are called to share that message. If your whole being is meant to share that message, even though you hold it in, it would burn like the sun within you. It would burn your guts until it would come to a point that you can no longer hold it in. This is what happened during my last speech. I lost two of my children from miscarriage, and while the pain was raw, I wrote it down. And then I kept it to myself, and then the breakthrough came. My champion baby was born, and then I wrote it down. but still I kept it to myself. It came to a point that I can no longer hold the message, and I shared it as a test speaker in Division G, where Jamie, speech Jenny, won the Division G contest in Baguio 2017. Later on, she became the District 75 champion. I realized the best messages are not forced. They come out naturally when you are silent and when you are in solitude. Now you are able to discover this beautiful message, this gem of great value. How do we polish it? Just like this gem, we add value to it by polishing it. How do we do that? How do we bring out its brilliance? Through the criteria of judging. We need to be familiar with the criteria of judging. In my early years, 2013, I paid no attention to the criteria of judging. But now I realize it is what makes your speech more clear. And, speaking from the heart is not about winging it, being swept by emotions. You need to have structure, you need to have organization. And it's hard for people to resonate with your message if they are distracted with the error in grammar, with your delivery, with your lack of organization in your content. Your message will be more brilliant if you are familiar with the criteria of judging. Now, there's a danger in obsessing with the criteria of judging, with the rules, because, and I'm guilty of this in my early years, that I really studied the speech champs. I was looking for the winning formula. But you see, there is no winning formula. The wonder of a life-changing speech is its freshness and its originality. And if you are imitating someone, you lose yourself. You lose your own style. You need to be true with yourself and with your message. And sometimes the rules can put us in a box and it can restrict our creativity. Masters know, in any field of art or any field of expertise, know that you need first to learn the rules, but be courageous in breaking them. Learn the rules. So be familiar yet flexible with the rules. And that is why great coaches come into play. This is what separates great from good coaches. Great coaches guide you with the rules and yet challenge you to go out of the comfort zone while preserving your message, because they believe also in your message and they believe in you as a speaker. They would encourage you to explore and experiment. And I am blessed to have mentors like DTM Noel Gilongos, Father Sunny, Bernard, Mason, Neb Perez, and members of the Smyrna City Toastmasters Club, because they challenge me to be more of myself and explore and experiment. Be familiar, but yet be flexible with the rules. Another way of bringing out the real you or the natural you is to practice. Practice. And this is the prepared international speech we're talking about. So, you need to be prepared. And during the ECQ, while the date was approaching for the district contest, when I didn't feel like practicing, I posted this quote on my wall so that I could see it often. Don't practice until you get it right. Rather, practice until you can't get it wrong. It has become second nature to you. So you can focus your attention in pouring your passion so that it would pass through that camera lens and then it would go to the hearts of the audience. You would not anymore have to be mindful of the technical stuff because it has been covered already. Now, the heat of the competition would really either bring out the best or the worst in you. Adrenaline rush, you know, uh, the stress, either the best or worst in you, and it would only boils down to the quality and quantity of the time you invested in practicing. You cannot cram it. It's very obvious. And it's hard to relax when you know you were not able to practice your piece. Now, Doc Ryan, how do I prevent sounding overly rehearsed? Sometimes when you practice too much, you don't feel anymore the emotions. How do we solve this? Well, first, always imagine that you are speaking to a friend, to a dear friend, or a loved one, or someone you look up to. And don't just retell your story, but rather relive the experience, relive the story. Tell it in a very conversational way. Now, your speech, it reached the district level. Wow, you are now the division champion. Now you have the opportunity. It has a bigger audience. My final advice is forget about the contest. Forget about the contest. Why? Because the audience would feel that you're in the competitive mode. Thoughts would come like, is my message worth sharing? Am I good enough a speaker? I might forget my speech. This happens when you are overly consumed by the competition, and it's natural. It is that time wherein you need to savor the moment and enjoy your speech. You have already invested time in practicing. That is the time you need to enjoy it. And it's a wonderful feeling, I tell you. And in the division contest, I was surprised in 5 to 7 minutes, it ended quickly as a flash in a blink of an eye. And I was sad. And when it reached the district contest, I saw to it that I would just enjoy the moment. And you need to believe in your message. And this is something that DTM Nomel Glongs taught me. If you are able to touch one life with your message, then you're a winner. Then you are a winner. As long as you are able to touch one life, then all the sacrifices, all the preparations are worth it. And that is the core message of my speech. All the sacrifices will be worth it. Don't get me wrong, trophies are great. But to be able to touch a life of one person, it's a glorious thing. In summary, dig for common roots. Start with silence. Be familiar, yet flexible with rules. Practice until you can't get it wrong, and forget about the contest. Now, after the district contest, after I finished and I gave my all, I was clueless whether if I have been effective, if I gave the message justice, because that's the difficulty with the video platform. There's no audience. You can't see the responses in real time. There was no applause, standing ovations, nor cheers. But then few seconds later, the messages started pouring in. My club mates, congratulations, you did a good job. And then, thank you very much for your message. But one message stood out, and that is from a couple. My wife and I are going through the same. And while we were listening, we felt that you were talking to us, and you gave us hope. Thank you very much. I was the 11th contestant. Jamie was the 12th. And then I was crying because I was only expecting for one person to be touched. And there were a lot of people blessed with the message. I said to myself, all the sacrifices were worth it. Fellow Toastmasters, ladies and gentlemen, truly, speaking from the heart is a truly frightening thing, but it can be one of the most fulfilling experience. That's why I leave you with this verse. Above all things, guard your heart. For everything, some things or a few things, but everything you do flows from it. Speaking from the heart means speaking life, means speaking healing, hope, and wholeness. As you overflow with these things, it would flow into the hearts of the audience. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share the art of speaking from the heart. Again, this is Dr. Ryan Encabo. And back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ryan, for those very inspirational words. I truly agree. Actually, when I joined the International Speech Contest before, my daughter told me, Mama, can you stop talking about me on your speeches? You don't win if you talk about me. And then I just tell her, Nah, I just want to share you to my audience. I want to inspire those who are single moms out there. And I truly agree with you that it's all about sharing your experiences and inspiring even just one person out there. So thank you for your inspirational words. And for our next speaker, she is the first runner-up of our District 75 2020 International Speech Contest. She is part of Synergy Toastmasters Club. Let me call on Advanced Communicator Gold, Advanced Leader Bronze, Toastmaster Yaneza.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Toastmaster Cara. And to follow after Doc Ryan's awesome setup is quite a challenge. Welcome to my bedroom. And hello to all our fellow Toastmasters and also our other viewers who are not yet part of the organization. We welcome you to Top of Your Game. And of course, in a short while, I will be sharing my screen. So may I request the host to please allow me to do so? The title of my talk for today, I was actually racking my brain for a good way to structure what I'm going to share for today. And incidentally, during the pandemic, my fellow Toastmasters in Synergy Toastmasters Club and I came up with a channel, a YouTube channel. And in that channel, we have what we call SIG Talks. SIGs, we call our viewers SIGs, S-I-G, for share, inspire, and grow. And so I thought, okay, what better way to share my thoughts for today but structure it into a what we call a SIG Talk as well. So check it out. We also have our YouTube channel, that's Synergy TMC, where we share our thoughts on Toastmasters, on public speaking, and self-development. So today, I'd like to say that I will be sharing, inspiring, and growing with all of you. And this is my topic. And the first word, of course, is share. And I agree with Doc Ryan, Toastmaster Ryan, that one of the first struggles that we have, of course, is choosing a topic, most likely. Honestly, after choosing a topic, your next struggle will be choosing a title, which was my struggle. Probably even a few days before the contest, I was still going back and forth as to what is the best title for the speech that I was going to deliver. Okay, because when we choose a title, I was asking a lot of people about it, and they say that when you choose a title, it should be, of course, relevant to your topic, but at the same time, it shouldn't give away too much of the topic, but it shouldn't be irrelevant, and it shouldn't be too long. I've attended this talk from one of the world champions, and he said it shouldn't go beyond 5 to 7 words. And so that was one of my struggles, actually, when I already crafted my speech. So let me break down my share into these 3 other words, which is share stories, share sentiments, and share strengths. So as already mentioned by Doc Ryan, yes, of course, when we come up or we try to choose a topic of our speech, definitely one of the best ways to do that is start with our own story. Okay. And when we choose a topic, I would say that it's something that should be relevant. And with relevant, we have the idea of sentiments. When we share a speech, I believe it's not just about sharing our sentiments, but sharing sentiments with our listeners or our audience. So it is possible that we choose a topic, for example, that we feel like resonates so much with us and we have a strong connection with that topic. But at the same time, let's also consider our listeners or the people who are listening to us. If, for example, we have chosen a topic that might cater to just a few people in the audience, for example, if I were in Baguio City and I were delivering a speech, I could insert my Baguio jokes, Cordilleran jokes, and so on. But this won't really work when I bring it to the division level or the district level. And so with that, the topic stays the same, but we simply have to adjust how we approach the topic or how we present the topic. And I would say that it's important for us to be able to relate to our audience that way. And we can do that by perhaps choosing a topic that we strongly believe and at the same time trying to consider what aspect of this can be applicable to many. So my topic in our area and division contest was about being busy and being guilty about being busy. So it's a simple topic if you come to think about it. Unless you are the type who is not really, what do you say, busy with your days. A lot of us are busy. In fact, when you're in Toastmasters, you're already busy, right? Because alongside your career, alongside your job, or whatever it is you're doing at home, in school, and so on, of course, you also have to prepare for your speeches. You have to attend the meeting. You have to perhaps take part in role taking in the club. So I thought that this is a topic that I could easily present to others and hoping that other people will be able to relate to that idea as well. So what I did with that is, of course, to present it in a different perspective. So let's also try to share our strengths. And it's true that we don't need to copy anyone. It is good actually to watch other people deliver their speeches and maybe take note of their strengths and try to learn from them. But in the end, it's our style. It's our way of delivering the message that would really matter the most. And in my case, I stuck to the idea that it's not really bad to be busy. Sometimes it's not even our fault if this is part of our jobs. It's something that we have to do. And it's true that we have to balance our time, but at the same time, while we are in that career that we are doing, let's do our best. And in that way, we are sharing forward. And this was the idea that I wanted to share also in my topic that I presented in the District 75 contest. And true enough, I'm glad that I received feedback from even people who I wasn't really familiar with before the contest, who said that thank you for presenting that idea in a different way, because for some time I was feeling guilty as a mother or as a parent, being busy all the time and not having enough time for my family. You know, if all of us would have the idea of sharing forward and we do our best for others, others will also receive the same from our loved ones, and well, it goes around. The next in my list is the word inspire. Definitely when we deliver a speech or when we are given the chance to deliver a speech, it's automatic that we will most likely inspire someone. But at the same time, as we listen to others, we are also inspired, right? And when we inspire by sharing our insights. In the 2018 rather, contest that I participated in the district convention, it just so happened that Darren Tay, our world champion for that year, was there. And I really like that simple anecdote that he shared when he asked advice from his mother as to how to deliver speech or what topic should he choose. And he said something simple, the advice of his mom. And his mom said, you have 5 to 7 minutes to say something to the world. What do you want them to remember? Well, it was somewhere along those lines, but I think this is something that we should always remember. It's true, not just when we step on that world championship stage. I think every time we deliver a speech, whether that be a 1 to 2 minute speech in the table topics or impromptu speech, a prepared speech in the club, or joining competitions in the area, division, and district, let's always remember that simple idea that we have this few minutes to say or deliver a message to people who are listening to us. It could be increasing numbers as we go along the area, division, and district. What do we want them to remember? What do we want them to reflect on? And if we are able to share those insights from our hearts, we're also going to be able to ignite. What do we ignite? The fire of encouragement and support. If they are perhaps going through the same thing that you are going through, and then we ignite that fire of encouragement and support. We ignite the fire of changing perspective about a particular experience or a particular topic that we are talking about. And I think it's always important for us to find something that we strongly believe in and share that to our listeners. And if we do so, of course, we're able to inspire and invite not just to the club, not for the DCP points, not to increase membership. That would all, of course, be good. But at the same time, when we do so, we invite people to invest in themselves through self-development. I think someone asked me, you've been in Toastmasters for 10 years. Yes, I have been in Toastmasters for 10 years now, literally, because I was a member 2010. And they say, you are a teacher, a trainer, you speak in your job, and then you're part of a speaking club. So what do you want to speak for the rest of your life? Have you not learned enough? I think you're joining competitions. But I believe that along with being able to be inspired by our fellow Toastmasters or other members, other people who become part of the club, it's also one way for us to share forward, share back to our fellow Toastmasters, to share our message, share what we have already learned. In my case, what I have already learned for, well, the past 10 years. And of course, we have grow. If we do that, we grow. Just to give you a background about myself, I became a Toastmaster 10 years ago in a corporate club, and it was a forced membership. Okay, I really like telling this story. It's not exactly, okay, forced. It was required because our company decided to put up a club. And because I was part of the training team, all people in training and human resources are to be part of the club. That's it. No questions, no solicitation from our management. Of course, Toastmasters has the freedom of joining whether or not you want to participate in the organization. But in our company, it was just that simple. But I'm here 10 years later. So that means I did not regret that decision, right? In fact, I was thankful that Toastmasters was introduced to me, although at that point it was sudden, it was just point blank, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of you can relate with me when we say we grow a lot. And when we deliver speeches, when we participate in competitions, that's one of the benefits that we actually gain. And so when we grow, I would say we grow with gusto, right? We grow with gusto. We have the enthusiasm or passion to learn. When I was preparing for the competition, I sought guidance, mentoring, advice from fellow Toastmasters in our city, outside our country, right? And that was the advantage of the virtual platform at that time. And truly, it was a challenge. I believe all of us are still adjusting to the virtual environment. Before, we were used to eye contact through the eyes of our audience. Now, our eye contact is looking straight at the camera. That was something I wasn't used to as well, because I'm not sure if the others could relate to that, but in my case, I was looking at myself on the screen, on how I was projected on the screen, right? When in fact, what you should look at would be the camera, that small dot in your laptop, iPad, or cell phone. And that's going to help you establish eye contact. Before we do gestures, we can make it as wide as we want. But of course, now we have to consider framing. We have to consider the angle of our camera, and we keep it at eye level. So these things I learned from my mentors as well. And we tried to simulate a Zoom meeting so they could see if my angle, my camera was too high, too low, if my audio was clear. And this is how we grow. We adjust to the new platform. And you know what? Even after the competition, I continued with my coaching sessions, with learning from other speakers. In fact, I've had the opportunity to have several one-on-one sessions with Kwong Yu Yang. If you are familiar with him, he has been to the World Championship stage several times. And this was already after the contest, okay? And I think this is how we learn further and how we grow more. That we don't just prepare so much just because we're joining a competition, right? I think the lessons or the preparation that we do for a competition and for a club speech should somehow be close to each other. If we do our best just because we have a large audience and just not really pay attention to what we're doing in a club speech, I don't think that's real practice, because we develop ourselves and our speaking skills not just to participate in a contest, right? But to be better at communicating, to be clearer with the message that we are going to share with others. And so, of course, we continue learning with our club. We keep on delivering speeches and we mentor others. After my contest, I was requested to mentor our other contestants for the division, and I gladly took that, because as we teach others, we also learn. And I believe that's why we have mentors in the club as well. And I'm really thankful for my mentors, fellow Toastmasters, and friends who really helped me in my journey and developing myself and my speaking skills. And of course, when we grow with a goal, right? So we should have a goal. When I became a member of Toastmasters, although in the beginning it was something required of me, when I embraced the idea of being a member, my goal at that time was to develop myself to be a better communicator, as simple as that. Because at that time, I was already a speaking trainer. But if you ask me to host an event, no, I would have cold feet. I would not be certain about what to say. I'd be stammering and all that. If you ask me to deliver an impromptu speech 10 years ago, even if I were already a teacher and a speaking trainer, I would ramble on with unorganized ideas. And so being a Toastmaster was a way for me to develop my communication skills. And At that time, it never crossed my mind that I would be participating in contests, but I did participate on my first year as a Toastmaster. But when I first became a member, it wasn't really part of it. I was one of those assigned to participate for the club. Can you relate to me? Assigned or encouraged or strongly encouraged to represent the club. And well, I would say that we wouldn't really take that plunge if we didn't know that our fellow Toastmasters would support us, right? And so my goal as a new member and as a person delivering a speech in a club and as someone representing the club in the division or district championship, I would say it's somehow the same. And that is simply to deliver my message clearly and somehow be able to share a message that would maybe change perspective of someone, inspire, and encourage, right? And I agree with the idea that it's important to know more about ourselves. Ultimately, the journey to competing and delivering our speech to a larger audience as we go along, it is a journey to knowing ourselves more as to what are the things that we need to develop or what are our opportunities for learning, right? And what are our inhibitions? What is stopping us from participating in a competition when in fact it's in Toastmasters, it's really a healthy competition. It's simply an opportunity for us to challenge ourselves. And I believe it's an opportunity that any Toastmaster must try at one point in your Toastmasters life. And that's the goal. If I do get the privilege to represent our area again, division and district, and maybe our country, it's not about myself, okay? But it would be me going back to my why. Why? Why do you want to deliver this message? Why do you want to share this speech to everyone? And it would simply be a proud moment to be a Filipino who is representing the country and delivering a message from a Filipino's heart. And I believe our district champion is so ready, right? Toastmaster Jot, in delivering that message as a proud Filipino. And I'm pretty sure that you would agree it's not about the competition. The goal is not about winning. The goal is to be able to grow as an individual, as a communicator, and hope that many people will be able to resonate with that message. Even if it's not many, there would be people who will be able to be changed with the message that you are delivering. And of course, we grow with gratitude or with gratefulness. I am indeed grateful for the support of my club, my area, my division, as I journeyed as somebody who represented the club in competition. And I am pretty sure that they won't do it just because it's me. They do it for any fellow Toastmaster who would challenge themselves to participate in a competition. I am grateful for the messages that came from different people. That's true. In the virtual, and I mean, in the face-to-face environment, you would have people approaching you, congratulating you, shaking your hand and say, congratulations, I was inspired. The difference in the virtual environment, you receive it through messages, right? It's in written form. And it's also great because you could always go back to it and try to look back at, wow, these people sent me messages, even if they didn't know me, and say, thank you for sharing that message. Wow, that was a different approach. Thank you for inspiring. And those simple words, I believe, are assurances that we are indeed delivering a message that somehow made an impact to others. And I am thankful that I'm able to know more about myself and more from others, because as I craft my speeches for not just the club, but the competition, I'm able to learn what are better ways to construct my speech, what are better ways to deliver my message to other people in such a way that it is clear and that we are able to focus on a particular topic that will bring them to the main message of their speech. And so I end this with a quick shout out to my Synergy Toastmasters Club family, Baguio Toastmasters Club family, who has instilled in me that alongside joining competitions, delivering speeches, and developing ourselves, it is friendship, hope, and love that propels us forward to share more, inspire more, and grow more as better communicators. Thank you very much, and back to you, Madame Toastmaster.
Thank you, TM Jamie, for those very nice words. And I really like how you reminded everyone here why we are here in Toastmasters. When my friends ask me, why are you part of Toastmasters? Why are you attending those sessions? And I tell them, well, this is something I am doing for myself because I want to grow and continue to learn. Thank you for reminding us that we need to invest on our own self-development. And before we go to our last speaker, I'd like to remind everyone that please type in your messages on our chat so that our panel moderator will be taking note of all your questions. Please type in your questions on our chat for our speakers. Okay? And for our final speaker of the day, he is our District 75 2020 International Speech Contest champion. He's from Sinulog and Ayala Cebu Toastmasters Club, Advanced Communicator Gold, Advanced Leader Bronze, TM Chiongbian.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Cara, District 75, Maayong Buntag. And thank you so much for joining us this Saturday morning. All right, we've heard a lot of great points from Toastmasters Ryan and Toastmasters Jamie, how to speak from the heart, and of course, our goals as a speaker. Now, my role this morning is to share with you on what are the things that you need to prepare for you to be ready on that big stage for that winning performance. All right. So you see, in 2019, during the convention here in Cebu, our keynote speaker, 2014, Dhananjaya Hettiarachi, mentioned during in one of his sessions, he said that if you want to win the World Championship of Public Speaking, you got to want it as bad as you want to breathe. You got to want it as bad as you want to breathe. And he kept on repeating that phrase over and over in his session. And I said, okay, good tip. But I wasn't contented. During the farewell dinner of that convention, Toastmaster, past international president Johnny Pawi Uy organized a farewell dinner. And then I asked him, Sir Pao, is there a way I can be seated in Dhananjaya's table? Because I really want to pick his mind more on how to become a world champion. Then he made it happen. Literally that evening, I was seated right across of Dhananjaya. We started talking, and then I asked him, Dan, is there anything else I need to know to become a world champion? What's your advice? So he told me, Jot, if you want to win, you got to want it as bad as you want to breathe. Then I smiled and laughed and I said, that's it? Anything else? And he said, you know what, Jot? I see something in you. And you will figure it out. Fellow Toastmasters and friends, true enough, that night before I went to sleep, I realized what he was saying was actually true. If you really want it, you have to want it as bad as you want to breathe. You have to make it happen. You have to do whatever it takes to win, right? And just like breathing, if you're having a hard time breathing, then you have COVID. No, bad joke, sorry. Then meaning You have to find a way to breathe, right? So which is why I was able to come up with a checklist on what are the things I need to prepare that even as early as 2019, I would be very ready for the competition for the following year. So right now, I will be sharing with everyone 7 tips that I have on my checklist that I find very effective in terms of preparation for that big stage, for that winning performance. And I hope that we will be able to help you prepare as well. So let's get started. Checklist. Number 1 on my checklist, this will serve as a refresher for the experienced Toastmasters. But if this is your first time to compete, this one is very important. Take note. First in our checklist is to read. And there's only one book that we should be reading when we join speech contests, and that is the Speech Contest Rulebook. And always take note, the Toastmasters International keeps on revising this every year, especially now in the virtual platform. There are some loopholes in terms of preparation for this year, but I'm sure they will be able to improve that next year. So make sure that you have the updated rulebook, and it's so easy. The updated rulebook will always have the photo of last year's speech contest. So if you decide to compete next year, make sure you have the contest rulebook with my photo in it. Whoa, wow. Anyway, it could happen. Why not? Anyway, why is it very important to read the contest rulebook? Once you have the contest rulebook, we have this habit on immediately going to the page where our category is. What we always forget is the important part, which is in page number 5, which is the general rules of the contest. Listen, it happened so many times already. A few years ago in a division contest here in Cebu, there was one club, I was one of the judges, and there was one club, I think the results was unanimous, that club was able to sweep all 4 categories. Amazing, really good job, and I really know that they nailed it. But upon hearing the results, we found out that none of them won, or to the point none of them were able to place. And of course, as chismoso as we all are, sometimes most of us, we asked what happened. And then we found out that the club was not in good standing. Imagine the amount of time they spent, all the efforts in practicing, and only to be disqualified because of technicalities. They say it's lack of leadership. No, it's our role. It's our role as contestants to know that we are eligible to compete, we are qualified, and to make sure that we are a member in good standing in a club in good standing. And what's worse is that it's still happening now. In the district level, there are a lot of contestants who get disqualified. Once again, because they are not eligible to compete. They may be eligible to compete in the district level, but the contest chair was able to find out that during the early part of the competition, when he or she competed in the area level, that contestant was not qualified. So imagine that. So it's your role as the contestant to make sure that you are eligible, you are qualified, and your club is in good standing. So make sure you read the contest rulebook. Next thing that you should read and you should be familiar with is the judge's guide and ballot. It's so amazing that I have met a lot of contestants in different categories. They've competed in division to the district level, and they have no idea how the judge's ballot looks like. Now, why is this important? Because while you're preparing for your speech, I would suggest that you consider the judge's ballot as another checklist for you to prepare on the content and your delivery. Why? This is something that we should bear in mind, that we may be able to come up with a really good speech. We were able to relay our message well. We were able to make our audiences smile, laugh, cry, and angry at the same time. The audience loves us. But always remember that the only people who decides your fate in this competition are the judges. So let us put our egos aside and make sure that we give the judges what they want. Always remember that during every competition, all the judges are being briefed minutes before the actual contest. So this is like their Bible. They're looking for a champion, so they're going to look for a speaker who's going to who meets the criteria of the judge's ballot. If you want to know more, if you just look at the judge's ballot, you can just easily download it in the Toastmasters organization website. You see, in content, that's already a good 50 points. Delivery, everything is there. If you want to know more, just look at the back part of that ballot. It gives you all the judging criteria. So once again, we may think that we have come up with a really good speech, but always remember, it's the judges who decide our fate, and make sure that we give them what we want. All right. So that's it. We move on to checklist number 2, and that is with your material. Our two speakers mentioned already earlier on how you could come up with a good topic. And if ever somebody asks me, where do I get my inspiration for my topics? My suggestion would always be review your basic speeches. Just like what Toastmaster Ryan and Ryan mentioned earlier, that your speech should be fresh, should be original. So what is more fresh and original than let's just focus on your basic speech number 1. Based on my research, there are a lot of world champion of public speaking, including Dan and Jaya Hetayarachi, and they admitted that the whole concept of their world champion speech was actually their basic speech number 1. So listen, your basic speech number 1 is the first speech you've ever written as a Toastmaster. So is it something really close to your heart? You might be surprised. Just try to review your basic speech number 1, 2, or first 5 basic speeches. You would be surprised to see a lot of good topics there. And it is so easy to develop from there because these are topics really close to your heart. Then while you're reading it, of course, you're writing your speech already, basing it on the judging criteria. Always think of a way to be remembered. All right. So while you're writing it, think of a way on how a speech technique. How are you going to deliver it? Because it's not just about the content, it's about the delivery. How are you going to relay your message? How are you going to be remembered? So always think of a speech technique. In my case, for this year and the previous years I've competed, I always use the technique of using a soundbite that I repeat in each part of my speech. That for me is something that I'm comfortable with and something that I see very effective. You can also explore on maybe using props, right? With the use of props or anything that will make a special technique that you deliver it. So you've seen a lot of world champions who use props, so that's how they are remembered. So while you're writing a speech, always come up with a speech technique also and how to deliver your speech more effectively and how you will be remembered. Okay, so that's it for the material. But my very good tip is just try to review your first 5 basic speeches. You'll be surprised. You will be able to find a lot of good topics there. Now let's move on to point number 3. Participate. Okay, so especially if this is your first time to join the international speech contest, it goes way beyond from your area, division, district, regional, semifinals to the world championship. So make sure you already have a feel on how it is on a bigger stage. There's a bigger world outside our club, outside our area, outside our division. So once again, if this is your first time to compete, I suggest that you attend district conferences, attend district conventions first, so that you will have a feel on how it is on a bigger stage. You get yourself used to the bigger crowds, and you get to see what you're up against. You get to see the techniques from the other divisions. So once again, I urge you to attend district conferences first, so that you will have an idea on how it is on the bigger stage. Next, we take that out. We move on to item number 4, which is reach out. It is really important that you work with a certain group of people. If you want to go fast, then you work alone. But if you want to go far until the World Championship of Public Speaking, then make sure you work with different people. What I usually do first is how do I identify my mentors? At first, I have to identify my strengths and weaknesses first. In my case, my weakness is actually writing. I have a lot of good ideas in my mind for a speech, but once I make it into a speech, it tends to be so wordy, and that's something that I still need to learn as a Toastmaster. So that's why I reach out to different people who are really, really good with writing. So in that way, they will be able to help me come up with a very well-formulated speech, right? And most importantly, when we reach out, always remember that we have to be very easy to train. Always remember that it is us who needs help from them and not the other way around. I've met a lot of contestants who think that, oh, you have to treat me well because I'm representing the club. No, we have to bear in mind that it's us who needs help from them. All right. So our two speakers mentioned earlier that there is no formula to win, but what I'm going to share with you is a secret formula I have on who are the people I'm working with. So just so you'll have an idea, and maybe you can come up with your secret formula soon. So in preparing for my speech, I always reach out to my mentor. My mentor, ever since I started competing, is distinguished Toastmaster Ernie Lim Kaking. He's a member of our club. And at the same time, he's a very, very good writer, no, as a lawyer. So I really work with him from the club to the area to the division level. So after we make it past the division level, we now reach out to other clubs. I now reach out to two more past district governors, Noli Espina and Dodong Badwell, another two lawyers. I'm working with three lawyers because like what I mentioned, my weakness is writing. So imagine, right? Working with lawyers, I'm sure they're so good. They're masters of their craft and they're really brilliant in terms of writing. So I encourage them, come on, attorneys, past district governors, just write. I don't care how many words, just put a lot of weight in my speech. So after that, we involve someone else. I reached out to past international president Johnny Pawi Uy. Why? Being the international president, aside from being the international president, he has also been a contestant. He has been a judge in the international level. He has been a chief judge international level, so he really knows what's going on in the world championship stage. And at the same time, while I'm working with the content with my three lawyer friends, I also want to make sure that Johnny Pawi Uy comes in to make sure that my speech already has an international flavor into it, right? So that's very important that it should also be appealing for the international crowd. So once we've all got that figured out, it doesn't stop there. I still pass it on to two more people. That's another lawyer that on top, that's Toastmaster Chapi Piramide, and below is my sister, who are still also really, really good writers. Now, what's their role? After working with senior Toastmasters, I make sure that I pass it on to millennials, our age, to also make sure that my topic is appealing to the younger generation. So after that, we all worked as a group, and that all these people were able to help me make it when the district level. And since now we're already preparing for the international stage, we reach out to other divisions now. This is how my secret formula looks like. Every day I am working with the same people, but we added four more people in this group. That's past district governor Gina Mabua and of course two-time international speech champion Nat Perez. They still do the same role as what the three lawyers are doing. They help me with my content. And what's so amazing about this is that Gina and Neb has this amazing talent of shortening all the words or eliminating all the unnecessary words. Imagine the speech I delivered in the district level, it had around 875 words. And the speech that it's still the same speech, the speech that I'll be delivering in the semifinals is now down to 658 words. They were able to remove 200 words and still give out the same message. So in that way, Gina and Neb were able to help me find more time to add more pauses and do proper face, right? Different parts of my speech, proper pauses, and to add more gestures in my speech. Then after that, of course, still the same role, but we make sure that it still has an international flavor into it. Now, Chappie Priya, Program Quality Director Richard, and Darwin Moises still have to make sure that our speech will still have an appeal to the younger audience. There's four of them now because we're now working on two different speeches, because if given a chance to move on to the World Championship of Public Speaking, we have to deliver an entirely different speech. So there you go. So next, after you reach out, we now move on to item number 5. And that is to practice. The first two speakers mentioned this already, and I'm going to mention it again. Practice, practice, practice. That's all you have to do. And when I say practice spontaneity, how's that possible? How are you going to practice being spontaneous? It's easy. Just memorize your speech. Doc Ryan mentioned earlier, this is a prepared speech, so you have to be prepared. Memorize your speech, memorize your gestures. In this virtual platform, memorize your framing, and maybe eventually, hopefully that we get to meet face-to-face at next year's convention. Always memorize your positioning on the stage. Why? Because when you memorize it, the more natural you will appear on the stage, right? And how are you going to do that as well? Another tip for you to practice is to videotape yourself. It is very important that we videotape ourselves because at least we are our very biggest critics, right? We critique ourselves, so it's easy to evaluate ourselves. At least we get to see or hear what our mentors are seeing and hearing. So at least you videotape yourself. That's what I do every time I practice. Then I review it. That's when I see, I think this, how I did this still needs to be improved. And I think how I said this need to be improved, right? So videotape yourself and evaluate yourself afterwards. Another tip I would like to share with everyone is to, once you practice, you also have to deliver it to different crowds. It is important that you get fresh feedbacks all the time, because if you only work with your mentors, there's already a certain bias into it. But because of course they help you write your speech, they help you come up with the gestures. So I would advise that once you practice, you also involve other clubs, right? Just reach out, just deliver it in different crowds so that you will be able to get really fresh feedback. Another thing that I did is that, as outside from Toastmasters, I'm also a very active of Lions Club. So there was one time that I practiced with my fellow Lions, and I was able to get one very important tip. My fellow Lions were able to point out that every time I make a point, I do this. I do this every time I make a point. And they said they found it very annoying. My mentors wasn't able to point that out already because they're so used to how I speak. So I took note of that. Then I reviewed all my recordings and I found out that what they're saying was actually true. Then every time I see myself doing this, I started being annoyed with it as well. So I tried to eliminate that already. So you'll be surprised on the feedback that you're going to get if you deliver it in different crowds, just so you will get fresh feedbacks all the time. So another tip that I've learned from fellow Toastmasters. So right now I've been hopping from one club to another to prepare for the semifinals and world championship. What I do is that I make a Google Docs, which I just share the link with a group and they just key in all their suggestions and areas that they would want me to improve. So that alone would be a very, very big help. Move on to number 6, attire. Why is that important? It is very, very important, all right? So as speakers, me, myself, I was guilty before when I started joining speech competition. I always tell myself, okay, I have this suit and tie in my cabinet. I'll just use that, all right? And during the contest day, I realized, especially if you have body like mine, who's very flexible, just grows and shrinks anytime it wants, whenever it wants to, always make sure that you choose the perfect outfit. Practice with it. Do dress rehearsals, because I'm just, if I may speak in behalf of the guys, it's never comfortable wearing a long sleeves and suit and being choked with your tie and doing all these gestures. It's not comfortable, especially with the climate we have here in the Philippines, right? So make sure that you make yourselves comfortable with what you will be wearing on the contest day. It is your responsibility to look good on that stage. Just imagine if you're attending a formal event. All right. So prepare for the perfect outfit. Choose the perfect outfit that will make you look good on that stage. I'm not saying that it will make you win, but definitely it's going to be a plus. It just goes to show that you are very, very prepared, and you will no longer be worried if you can do all these gestures because you've practiced with it already. So it is important that every time you practice with your mentors and with other clubs, with other organizations, make sure that you also practice with what you are wearing. All right, that's it for number 6. And lastly, number 7, this is very important. You attend contest briefing. This is the best way for you to be comfortable during the contest day, right? You get to hear some concerns and some questions from other contestants that you may have not thought of. And other than that, you already get a feel on how it is, how it is being set up. You get to meet people, so it will really help you relax, and it just gives you a refresher. Maybe there are items that are not in your checklist, so attending contest briefing is really important. No matter how many times you've joined contest and attended contest briefing, I suggest you attend it all the time, so it will serve as a refresher for all of us, right? So that's it for my checklist, but I have one more tip to give you, but let's just do a quick recap. Number 1, you read. Make sure that you are eligible, you are qualified to compete. Make sure you are in a member of good standing in a club in good standing. At the same time, make sure that you have read the judges' ballot, and consider that as a separate checklist while you are preparing for your speech. Number 2, your material. If you still don't know what to talk about, review your first 5 basic speeches at Toastmasters. This are topics really close to your heart, and I'm sure it would be so easy for you to develop from them. Number 3 is to participate. Get a feel on how it is in a bigger crowd. Get yourself used to in a bigger crowd. attend district conferences, see what other divisions are doing, see what you are up against. So just so you will be ready for that bigger stage. Next is reach out. Don't work alone. Be easy to train. Reach out to people just so you can get feedback all the time. Because once you deliver a message, always remember that it is not what we say that it's important, it's what they hear. So if you think that what you're saying is actually very effective and they're hearing it the wrong way, then it turns out to be useless, right? So reach out, work with people so they can really give you feedback all the time. Practice, 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 practice all the time. Practice spontaneity. Memorize your speech, memorize your gestures, memorize your framing, because the more you do that, the more you will look natural on stage and on camera. Number 6, attire. Make sure that you look good on that stage, right? Make sure you look good on that stage. Make sure that you force yourself to be comfortable with whatever you are wearing on the contest day. For me, in my case, every time I join speech contest, whatever I'm wearing, seriously, I'm not comfortable. But I force myself to be comfortable on stage. So because I feel that I look good in that suit, that I will find a way to force myself to be comfortable with that outfit. Lastly is attend contest briefing. That will serve as a refresher. There are maybe some things that you missed. So at least a few hours or minutes before the contest, this will serve as a refresher and it will really help you be more relaxed and be ready to deliver that winning speech. All right, so once you take that off all your checklist, there's still one thing that you need to think about, or one thing that you should ask yourself. And my mentors always ask me this, John, what will make you stand out? They always ask me that question every time I compete, right? What will make you stand out? Imagine you are a judge. You need to break your tie in your judge's ballot. And I have 2 contestants on my hand and I need to break a tie. All of you delivered, it was all out. It was it was a brilliant speech. All of you got a 100 point. Both of you got 100 points. What will make you stand out? That will serve a challenge for you guys. But in my case, in 2017, when they asked me that question, I realized maybe I went back to the outfit, right? Maybe I will wear something different. So that's why I was able to come up with this design. Since I was talking about, my topic was about my experiences working in a hotel. So I decided to have a tailor make a suit that looks like a hotel uniform, but still looks formal as well. And to be fair, during the contest season, I love the compliments of the people. They said, oh, wow, that's a very nice suit. A lot of people said, wow, you look like somebody from North Korea. Yeah, if you still think that he's dead, no, he's not, just right there in front of you. Anyway, but yeah, it was funny. It was saying, oh, wow, you look like somebody I know from North Korea. But I love the attention and it worked, right? So that's what I did in 2017. What made me stand out? Once again, I'm not saying that it will really help me. It will make you win, but definitely it's going to be a plus. So that's what I decided in 2017. Come up with an outfit that would make me stand out. But it was different this year. In the virtual platform, they asked me the same question again. 2 days before the district competition, I was supposed to deliver my speech in this very room with my plain white background, which was required by the district organizers. But they asked me, what will make you stand out? Are you contented with the backdrop? So that was like a wake-up call for me. Then they said, okay, 2 days before the contest, in the middle of the lockdown, I think I will be able to do something about it. So I contacted my friends working in the hotel industry. I was able to rent one of their boardrooms. So I was able to use this as the venue of my district presentation. And to be fair, it made me really feel good. Like, okay, I love my setup. I was confident because there were IT guys helping me with my internet connection, with my laptop and the setup. Everything was there. So that was my answer to their question and what will make you stand out. And I urge you to also do the same, right? So once you already did everything in the checklist, always think of this. What will make you stand out? Imagine that you are the judge and you have you have to break your tie. What will make you stand out? Only you will know the answer. And that's true. Yeah, it involved money. It involved a lot of time, but I tell you, it was worth all the hassle. It was worth every penny. Because why? Because I wanted it. I wanted it so much, as bad as I wanted to breathe. And I hope that you will feel the same way too once you prepare for the International Speech Contest next year. So fellow Toastmasters, and yes, that's it. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask us online and offline. So back to you, Toastmaster of the day. Good morning.
Thank you, Toastmaster George, for those very nice tips on International Speech Contest. And before, actually, I don't really practice that much on my speeches until my daughter asked me, Mama, why are you so sad? I said, I'm disappointed with my speech delivery. She said, huh? But you didn't practice enough. Okay. So I heard that wake-up call from my daughter that you need to practice. So thank you for reminding us that practice is everything when delivering a speech as well. So from here, I would like to pass it on to our panel moderator, TM and Perez, to help out with the questions to our speakers.
All right, thank you, TM, Cara, and good morning, everyone. I'm Anne, your panel moderator for today. I want to start this part of our session with a quote that says, by learning, you will teach. By teaching, you will learn. For me, this means a cycle of how we learn and grow from each other. I know everyone here yearns to develop and hone their skills, and we are very much lucky to have our champions share their own formula on how we can achieve our goals as a speaker. Now, we receive a few questions, and well, quite great ones, coming from our meeting attendees for today. And champions, I'm sure some of it will challenge you, but well, I also know that you will be the perfect circle of people to answer this. So let's start. Our first question is coming from an anonymous audience. The question is, would you recommend shifting materials between area, division, district contests, or just stick with one speech? Let me start with distinguished Toastmasters, Ryan.
So first, I would like to make a disclaimer. We are winners of the international speech. We're not table topics winners. It's really a question whether how's the date of the contest, because I really discourage on shifting or changing a topic. Actually, I remember with a district contest, actually I had 7 drafts with 7 different core messages, and I was in a panic mode, and then I had to have a kind of soul searching on which topic should I really talk about. And actually, it was my original speech in the division contest. I want to stay true with my why, and it's that to minister to the audience of what happened to my family. So, and then, so that's my answer. I would really discourage you shifting or changing your speech because it would really take more time, more effort, rather than sticking with what you already have and polish it and make it more brilliant.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like what you said earlier, I remembered about a part of your speech when you said practice until you can't get it wrong. And then you said that don't tell the story, but relive the story. And I think changing your speech in that short period of time will lessen the emotions, like how you were able to practice that, the speech or the piece that you were trying to convey the message to your audience.
And if you would allow me to add, really, it comes to a question: do you really believe in your message? Sometimes you have, sometimes the urge to change your speech is really from a place of, do you really believe in your message? And if there's someone who should believe in your message, it should be you. It should be you.
That's right. Thank you, Toastmasters Ryan. Let me also ask Toastmaster Jamie with the same question. Would you recommend shifting materials between area, division, district contest, or just stick with the one speech?
So as I have mentioned earlier, I would, yeah, also not really encourage you to change material, but that's why when you participate in your club or area contest, you have to be really sure already of the topic of your speech, so that if you do have to make modifications, it would probably just be the organization. It would be the same topic, but it would probably be the organization of your ideas, your delivery, or probably inserting humor and all these things. But generally, the theme of your speech, I would suggest that you stick to what you have already written. And if you feel strongly and this message resonates with you, then all you have to do is to try to adjust your approach to the topic based on your audience. Just like, as I mentioned, your attack on humor, or how you deliver it, or well, on the platform that you're going to deliver it.
Thank you, TM. And also, TM Jot, do you have any thoughts around this?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I do agree with Toastmasters Riot and JB. Yes, I would also personally discourage you changing from one speech to another. But I was surprised when Toastmaster JB mentioned earlier during the talk that she shares the same sentiment. That before I go to that, someone told me that winning speeches are not written, it's rewritten, right? So I would recommend that instead of changing your speech, keep on rewriting it, keep on improving it as once you progress in this level of competition. What Toastmaster Jamie mentioned earlier, that there may be some topics or punchlines or humor that may be appealing to the audience in Baguio and may not be appealing to the national audience. Seriously, imagine how it is for us here in Visayas and Mindanao. There are a lot of humor or good topics that only us can relate, and it wouldn't be appealing for the national audience. So that's one thing that you need to develop all the time. So to keep on rewriting your speech, I would not recommend you shifting to another speech. Just stick onto that topic and just keep on developing it. Just keep on improving it with the help of your mentors.
All right, thank you so much, TMs. And what I got from all of your messages is that if you really believe in the message that you are conveying, the speech that you originally wrote, and you rewrite it and towards, developing and trying to give out what you experienced from the past, and then reliving it at the moment that you are sharing your speech to your audience, will be something that can change the lives of the other people. Thank you so much, DMs. And for our next question, it's coming from TM Migi Ericta from Makati Toastmasters Club. If you have more than one good speech topics, how do you choose the best? TM Jamie?
Honestly, what I did was to ask the opinion of others, because of course it's your speech, so you have written them all. Before I began my choosing of my topic, I had 3 speeches already that I felt like were all good speeches, and I felt like all the messages were good to share to others. And so what I did was to ask the opinion of others, because of course, if it's your speech, most likely you won't really be able to gauge fully how it affects your listeners or your audience. So one good way to do that is perhaps either deliver that speech to a small audience or a big audience, if you may, or send your script to someone who may give his or her opinion about which message resonates to him or her more, to your coach or mentor. And if that choice given to you is something that you feel that you could also deliver and improve on, then why not? Ultimately, the choice is ours, but it's also good to choose a few people who would probably give us advice, and we could base our final decisions on what they have shared with us.
All right, thank you, Toastmasters, Jamie. And for TM Jot, I have one question for you.
Yes.
If your coach, you mentioned earlier in your speech that you have a couple of people that you reach out to, right? Your mentors and the other Toastmasters that you are in connection with. if your coach or any of those mentors would tell you right now that he does not or she does not think that your speech will not win, but you are extremely proud and you extremely believe in the message of your speech, would you write a new one or stick with the one that you have?
That is a very interesting question. All right. Because it's actually happening right now. Of course, the speech that we have prepared for the semifinals already is basically the same speech that I delivered at the district level, and we're just really tweaking that, improving that speech. This is actually happening in the speech that we're preparing for the World Championship speech, right? World Championship of Public Speaking. I am now working with 8 different people, and 3 of them were actually saying, that's not a good speech for the World Championship. But what I did is that instead of rewriting, this is something that we've developed already. And we only have a week before, when given a chance to move on to the World Championship, we only have a week left. I don't think I would have time to prepare for another speech and start from scratch. So I will definitely work with what I have right now. So I asked them, if you think, all 3 of them, I asked them, if you think that this is a type of topic that will not win in the World Championship stage, will you please just help me improve this speech? Then of course they're helping me rewrite this speech, but I wouldn't write another speech. I'd stick with it. And as mentors, they committed to help me all the way. So I reach out to them, please help me make this work.
All right, thank you, Toastmasters Jot. And again, I also firmly believe that, your mentors and the people that you work with, Toastmasters, it's a gift. Everyone keeps, giving us feedback for us to grow and develop. And who doesn't want to grow, right? It's just up to us on how we will be using those feedback for our development. Thank you. Our question coming from TM April Rose for TM Ryan. How do you draw the line between practice speech and conversational speech? Something that we can relate to.
Yeah, it's very difficult to separate the two because this is a prepared speech and you need to sound conversational. You are imagining that you're speaking to a friend, yet there's still a level of performance you need to add to it. So it's about being yourself and more. It's like colors of the rainbow. You are like projecting one color of yourself that is appropriate for the setting. Now, my practical advice would be to send your video to your loved ones. I show my video to my wife, to my friends, because they would really call you out if you're being unauthentic. So that's a good tip. Show your video because they would say, oh, you're just acting or you're performing. Show it to them and even ask them, do I sound sincere? Do I sound authentic? Yeah.
All right, thank you, Toastmasters Ryan. And again, I remember one fact from your speech and your advice earlier that practice with a friend or someone that is close to you, because they are the true persons who will give you true feedback, constructive criticisms that can develop your speech. Thank you. Another question that is coming from Toastmasters Vienna. What speech content can you recommend if you are not comfortable sharing something about yourself? Would you mind answering and sharing your answer for us, TM Jamie, for this question?
Yes, thank you. First of all, as we became part of Toastmasters, remember that our very first speech, the icebreaker speech, speaks about ourselves, right? And I would understand though, because there are really some people who are not very comfortable with sharing them parts or stories of themselves to the audience. But may I also say that being able to share a story about yourself or your experience adds heart to your speech. And so being hesitant about sharing that is something that maybe it's not about choosing a topic that doesn't need to share something about yourself. Maybe taking on the journey of being comfortable, of sharing something about yourself would be a better path, and then choosing a topic. But one of the simple or first steps that you could take, perhaps if you're really not yet that comfortable, to share something about yourself is to start by relating another person's experience and sharing what you feel about that. Okay, so you could probably start with that first, how you felt about your observation of somebody else's experience. And then maybe at a later time, you could journey on to finding the courage and confidence to sharing your stories. Because remember, in Toastmasters, you are in a friendly environment, and this is an opportunity for you to really share a part of yourself without being
Thank you.
judged.
That's right. Thank you, Toastmasters, Jamie. I remember every time that we conduct Toastmaster sessions in our company, we always start with that quote, that reminder that Toastmasters is a safe environment for us to encourage more and for other people to share their message and their story to our club. Thank you, TM Jamie. We also have another question coming from TM Julius J. Cruz, and this is for Toastmaster Jot. I remember in your speech you mentioned you believe in you remember what TM Dhananjaya, I hope I pronounced it right, the quote, "You got to want it as bad as you want to breathe."
Right.
And this question coming from TM Julius, one tip from a previous world champion for international speech goes this way: practice to internalize and not to memorize. Can you share your thoughts on this?
All right. I think I need some backup on this now. Okay, my thoughts on this would be, just imagine, Toastmaster Julius, this is a 5 to 7 minute speech, and I think it would be very much easy, given the amount of time. I think it will not take you the whole day to memorize a speech, right? So I don't know why someone would give a suggestion not to memorize the speech. Oh no, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Maybe let's identify what kind of speech they're talking about. If a speech, if we're talking about speeches like in seminars, like what we're doing right now, of course, don't memorize your speech, right? Especially if you're doing a talk for like 20 to 30 minutes, don't memorize your speech. I would recommend that you internalize it. But in terms of international speech contest, I would still recommend that you do memorize it. And when you memorize your speech, not just the content, it's your gestures and your positioning on stage. Because once again, the more you memorize it, the more you will look natural on stage. So I would still stick to my recommendation that you memorize your speech for the competition. But if you're delivering a speech, like a seminar, like in your club or a lecture, definitely don't memorize your speech. Internalize it and just have some pointers on the side. That's it.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jot. And I also know that, like what you said, if you are delivering, a seminar or a talk, if you really firmly believe on what you are saying or you believe on your material, you wouldn't have to memorize the thing. But of course, if it is a contest, you should. Well, thank you so much, Toastmasters. We have a anonymous question for, again, Toastmaster Jot. How do you look for mentors? Maybe this person was wondering, how do you get to have that so much mentors that you shared earlier? And the person said, I'm only 2 years at Toastmasters and I don't know many TMs or Toastmasters outside my club. Who would be willing to mentor me? Do you have any recommendations?
Okay, maayong buntag to this anonymous Toastmaster for 2 years. All right. Okay, how do I choose my mentors? Once again, I'm going to go back. Identify your strengths and weaknesses first. Being 2 years as a Toastmasters, I'm sure you will be able to know on the areas that you need help with. So once you've identified that, once again, I'm going to relate it to myself. I've been a member for like more than 10 years already, and I still don't know how to write perfectly. So I always reach out to writers. How do I do that? Always work with someone, an experienced Toastmasters in your club who has been there and been a member for, let's say, at least 5 years or more. So work with that person in your club, because that will be the same person, and ask them to commit to help you. Because after your club, if you make it all the way to the World Championship Public Speaking, ask for their commitment that they will be with you all the way. That special person, just one. That's what I did with our charter president, Ernie Limkaking. I worked with him all the way. So with his help, I asked him as an experienced Toastmaster, I asked him to get in touch with them, with the other writers, with other past district governors, okay? I asked for his help to reach out to them. Once they say go, then they say, okay, we're willing to help. That's when I reach out to them. And it doesn't stop there. What I do, it was more challenging before when we were still doing a face-to-face practice, because what I did is that I was being my own vice president for education. I treat my practices like it was a Toastmasters meeting. I make sure that I have a very nice venue for them. I make sure that they will not say no, that they will feel really bad if they do not show up. I make sure that they have their favorite beer, favorite wines ready, and their favorite pulutan. I am being my vice president for education, and I will not take no for an answer. So by the way, of course, it's scary. I'm sure if you know those people, those mentors that I've shown earlier, if you know their level, yes, it's scary. I don't reach out to them immediately. I ask my mentor, Ernie, to reach out to them first. If they say they're interested, that's when I contact them. And always remember, be your own vice president for education. Organize your practices. Don't take no for an answer. Give them what they want. Make them feel bad for not showing up in your practices.
All right, thank you, Toastmasters, Jot. And I also, believe that, like what you said, you have to have someone or find someone who can commit to train you or to mentor you, because commitment is actually, it's an act. It's not just a word. It's a continuous act and an effort for that person to develop and hone your skills and help you. All right, we also have one last question. This came again anonymously, and I think a little bit intriguing or interesting for TM Ryan and TM Jamie. If we were to jump back to July, knowing what you know now and after this educational talk, what would you change about your speech if you want to win against TM Jot? Let's start with ladies first, TM Jane.
That is a very challenging question. Honestly, knowing what I know now, I think the added information that I gained now from the past meetings and whatever that I have attended would be simply a better online presence and basically what I have also shared earlier. So if it were me, I would simply say more mastery in my delivery. That would be something that I would be more conscious about in my future speeches. And pretty much the same as how I did it before, still speak from the heart and still believe in my message. So I would say mastery and better online presence.
Thank you, TM. TM Ryan, would you want to share your thoughts around it?
I think I will not be able to answer that question because I'm happy with what I attained. I'm happy that I'm able to enjoy being with my children. Jot is his journey is still continuing and much sacrifices. He's been investing more and more. Actually, moments before the contest, I was about to make the decision whether to choose among the topics. Is my why to win or to share the message? And I think this will also answer the question of Miggy Ericta of from Makati TMC, whether you're torn between topics. Ask yourself, if this is the last opportunity for you to speak, what would be your message? And that was the decision, the call I had to make. That's why I have no regrets. Besides, I have friends like Jot and Jamie. We became close. And I gained mentors. I gained a lot from the journey, and my goal, my why is to be a channel of healing, even through my words. That's my why. So I'm a winner. So I think I would not be able to answer that question because in my definition, I already won because I was able to deliver that special message, the message of our family. So I hope I give a
Of course.
answer.
Thank you, TM Ryan. I know for sure that you have again touched a lot of lives for today's session. And for the others who gave their questions just recently, I'm sorry, just for the sake of time, you, again, like what TM Jot mentioned a while ago, you can reach out to our champions even offline. All right, so you guys get those questions going for them. I know they would be, ecstatic in answering our questions. Again, I would like to thank all of the participants who sent interesting questions throughout the meeting. And also a huge thank you to Impact Toastmasters Club, Makati Toastmasters Club, Nielsen Philippines Toastmaster Club, and Willpage Toastmaster Club for collaborating and hosting this educational learning sessions. For everyone in this meeting, never stop learning, for when we stop learning, we stop growing. I now return the proceedings to our team of the day. Team Cara?
Thank you, TM Ann. And thank you for all the questions that were given and all the answers from our speakers. Now, before we end this session, I would like to share that there are 3 things that have resonated to me today. And that is, first, to have a goal, to have the goal of inspiring people, of inspiring your audience. Next is to put in mind that you are also doing this for your own self-development. And third, look for mentors and practice. Practice, practice, practice. So thank you to all our speakers today. I'm pretty sure that we do have some audience here who would be lining up to join the next international speech contest. And also, again, thank you to all our organizers, as TM Ann said, Makati, Nielsen, RealPage, and Impact. Thank you for organizing this top of your game. And I would like to say that please stay for picture taking, but I will pass this on to our presidents first. Okay, thank you everyone. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for a job well done, Cara, and to all our speakers, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. And now we will be closing this meeting. As president of Impact Toastmasters Club,
As president of Makati Toastmasters Club,
As president of Nielsen Philippines Toastmasters Club,
President of RealPage Toastmasters Club,
we hereby
hereby declare
declare
this
this
educational talk
talk
on
on international
international speech closed.
close.
close.
Thank you so much, everyone. Now for the picture.
Toastmaster Cara, I'm sorry Derek is not here. Can you do the honors of taking the photo?
Sure, sure.
Give me a moment.